My mother asked me to host Christmas this year, said she was too tired. I agreed, spent my bonus on decorations, groceries, and gifts for everyone. But when they arrived, she pulled me aside and whispered, "Don't make it about you. This isn't your show." Then she took over the oven, criticized my tree, and told my aunt I'd always been lazy. I locked myself in the bathroom and cried while they sang carols outside. The next day, she called and said, "Thanks for ruining the holidays, as usual." My mother asked me to host Christmas this year. She said she was too tired and couldn't handle the stress. At first, I thought it was strange. She's never missed hosting a holiday in my whole life. But she sounded worn out over the phone, and I didn't want to argue. I said yes before even thinking it through. I live in a modest little house in Ohio. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. I figured hosting Christmas for the first time would be a big deal, a sort of passing of the torch. I felt honored, honestly. Excited, even. So I threw myself into it. I spent my entire end-of-year bonus, money I had planned to put toward fixing my cracked driveway, on decorations, groceries, and gifts. I wanted everything to be perfect. I wanted her to be proud of me. I spent weeks planning the meal. I watched YouTube videos on how to roast a turkey properly, how to make side dishes from scratch, how to fold napkins into fancy little trees. I strung up lights outside, even though my fingers were numb from the cold. I bought a real tree, not one of those fake ones she always insisted on. I decorated it myself with ornaments I picked out one by one. I even bought matching pajamas for everyone to wear Christmas morning. Christmas Eve, I barely slept. I was nervous, but also buzzing with excitement. I cleaned the house twice, just in case. I set the table with the good plates, the ones I usually kept boxed up in the closet. I wrapped presents late into the night and put them neatly under the tree, all color-coordinated in gold and red paper. Christmas morning came, and my family started arriving around 10 a.m. My brother, his wife, my aunt, my cousins, and of course, my mother. Everyone brought a side dish or a bottle of wine, and for a few minutes, it felt like everything was coming together just the way I imagined. Then my mother pulled me aside in the hallway. She leaned in close so no one else could hear and whispered, "Don't make it about you. This isn't your show." The words hit me so hard that for a second, I thought I hadn't heard her right. I opened my mouth to say something, but she just smiled tightly and walked off toward the kitchen. I stood there, stunned. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to cry. Mostly, I just felt small. But I shook it off. I told myself she was just stressed, maybe overwhelmed, maybe tired like she said. Then things got worse. She marched straight into the kitchen, yanked open the oven door where the turkey was slowly roasting, and started criticizing it loud enough for everyone to hear. "Too dry already. Should have basted it again. You don't cook it on that rack." She shook her head like I was a child who couldn't be trusted with an easy-bake oven. She rearranged the side dishes I had laid out, made my mashed potatoes more presentable, and told my brother's wife that it was a shame I didn't inherit her good hosting genes. I tried to keep smiling. I tried to stay gracious. After all, it was Christmas. But then she moved on to the decorations. She stood in front of my tree, arms crossed, and made a show of criticizing every single ornament. "Who puts silver and gold together?" she sneered. "And where's the angel for the top? No tree is complete without an angel." I told her I liked the star I had picked out. She rolled her eyes and said, "Of course you do." The final straw came when she pulled my aunt aside, loud enough for me to hear, and said, "She's always been lazy, you know. Always wanted the rewards without putting in the work. Look at this. Bless her heart, but hosting isn't for everyone." I didn't even recognize my own face when I caught my reflection in the hallway mirror. My cheeks were burning. My hands were shaking. I excused myself, went upstairs to the bathroom, locked the door, and cried quietly while my family sang Christmas carols downstairs like nothing had happened. I stayed in there for what felt like hours. I didn't want to come out. I wanted the ground to open up and swallow me whole. Eventually, when I heard chairs scraping and people getting ready to leave, I washed my face, forced a smile, and went downstairs to say goodbye. My mother gave me a tight hug and said, "Well, you tried." I barely slept that night. I kept replaying everything in my head, wondering what I did wrong, how it all went so sideways. But I told myself it was over. I could move on. Then the next day, my phone rang. It was my mother. Her voice was cold. No hello, no how are you. Just, thanks for ruining the holidays again. As usual. I didn't even know what to say. I hung up without answering. And that's when something inside me broke. I had spent my whole life trying to make her happy, trying to get her approval. I did everything I could to make Christmas special, not just for her, but for everyone. I spent money I didn't have, time I couldn't spare, energy I didn't really have either. And it wasn't enough. It would never be enough. So I decided, quietly, that next Christmas would be different. Over the next few months, I started planning. Not for Christmas, but for my escape. I stopped picking up the phone every time she called. I stopped driving across town every time she needed something. I didn't offer to help her clean out the garage, or mow the lawn, or fix her computer. I started saying no. Not rudely. Just firmly. Clearly. Without explaining myself. And when the family group text started buzzing in October about plans for the holidays, I stayed silent. When my aunt asked if I was hosting again this year, I said no. I'm busy. When my brother tried to guilt me into it, I just said, sorry. Can't. The week before Christmas, my mother called. She left a voicemail dripping with false sweetness, asking me to at least come over for dinner. She said she missed me, said it wouldn't be the same without me. I didn't call back. Christmas Eve came, and I didn't go over. I didn't send a gift. I didn't even text. Instead, I packed a suitcase, got in my car, and drove south. I spent Christmas Day on a quiet beach in Florida, barefoot in the sand, sipping cheap wine from a plastic cup. I watched the sun set over the ocean and cried, not because I was sad, but because for the first time in my life, I felt free. Meanwhile, from the texts my cousin later showed me, Christmas back home was a disaster. My mother burned the turkey. The new decorations she bought at the last minute looked cheap and sad. Nobody could agree on what carols to sing. My aunt got drunk and called her out on her constant criticizing. The whole thing ended in a screaming match, and half the family left before dessert. She called me again that night, left another voicemail. This one was full of anger. You abandoned your family. You're selfish. You're ungrateful. I didn't answer. I never answered again. It's been 2 years now. I still live in Ohio. Still have my little house. Still have my cracked driveway. But my life is so much quieter now. Happier. Lighter. I spend holidays with friends who actually appreciate me, who laugh at my cheesy tree ornaments and praise my lumpy mashed potatoes like they're Michelin-starred. Sometimes I miss the idea of family. The idea of a mother who lifts you up instead of tearing you down. But I don't miss her. And every year when Christmas rolls around, I light a candle, put on my pajamas, and decorate my tree however the hell I want. And it's perfect. It's not revenge in the traditional sense. I didn't scream at her or ruin her dinner or get even in some big dramatic way. I just walked away. And honestly, that's the sweetest revenge there is. I thought I was done with her. I really believe that. I was wrong. The second Christmas, after I cut ties, she showed up at my front door. It was 2 days before Christmas. Snow was falling hard, the roads were slick, and I wasn't expecting anyone. I was wrapping presents on the living room floor when I heard the knocking, sharp, fast, impatient. At first, I thought it was a delivery. I wiped my hands on my jeans and opened the door without thinking. There she was. My mother stood on the porch, wrapped in a heavy fur coat, Makeup smeared a little under her eyes like she'd been crying, or maybe like she wanted me to think she had. I froze. My stomach dropped. She didn't wait for me to invite her in. She brushed past me like she owned the place. "You didn't return my calls," she said, dropping her purse on the hall table like it belonged there. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. It was like I had forgotten how to talk. She looked around the house, taking it all in: the tree, the candles, the warm lights I had strung up by myself. She didn't say a word about any of it. Instead, she turned to me and said, "You're being dramatic. Come home for Christmas. Let's put all this foolishness behind us." Foolishness. That's what she called it. Like years of hurt, years of being treated like I wasn't enough, were nothing but a little spat over a burnt turkey. "No," I said. It was just one word, but it felt heavy enough to crack the walls. She didn't take it well. First came the anger. Her face twisted up, her voice got loud, high-pitched, almost shrill. "I'm your mother," she screamed. "You owe me respect. After everything I've done for you." She went on and on, listing every meal she ever cooked for me, every ride she ever gave me, every dollar she ever spent. As if love was a transaction and I was just a debt she needed to collect on. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just stood there, feeling like a little kid again, being scolded for something I didn't even understand. When she saw I wasn't fighting back, she changed tactics. She started crying. Real tears this time. Or at least, they looked real. She sank onto the couch, face in her hands, sobbing about how lonely she was, how she missed her family, how Christmas wouldn't be Christmas without me. For a second, a small, stupid second, I almost caved. Then I remembered Christmas 2 years ago. Standing in the bathroom with the door locked, trying not to sob loud enough for the carolers to hear me. I stayed firm. "I'm sorry you're lonely," I said. "But I'm not coming back." She looked up at me through her tears, her face crumpled and red. "You're selfish," she spat. "You're just like your father." The room tilted. My father left when I was 6. I barely remembered him. All I knew was what she told me, that he was cold, unreliable, distant. That he didn't care about anyone but himself. Hearing her throw his name at me like it was an insult knocked the air out of my chest. But maybe that was the truth she didn't want to admit, that I had finally become someone she couldn't control. She left after that, slamming the door so hard the wreath on it fell off. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong again. On Christmas morning, just as I was sitting down with a plate of cinnamon rolls and a hot coffee, my phone buzzed. A text. From my aunt. "Why didn't you tell us you weren't inviting Mom to Christmas? She said you banned her. Said you screamed at her and kicked her out in the cold." I stared at the screen, my coffee forgotten. Another text came through, this one from my brother. "Real nice, leaving Mom all alone on Christmas. I hope you're happy." It hit me like a punch to the gut. She was lying to everyone. Spinning a story where she was the poor, heartbroken mother and I was the cold, heartless daughter who threw her out into a snowstorm. And they believed her. Of course they did. She was charming when she wanted to be. She could cry on cue. She knew exactly which buttons to push. And me? I was the quiet one. The shy one. The one who always kept the peace. The one nobody really listened to. Suddenly my phone was lighting up nonstop. Cousins, family, friends, even people I barely talked to, sending me messages dripping with guilt and judgment. I turned the phone off. I sat there in the silence, my heart pounding, wondering how it had come to this. All I wanted was a Christmas that didn't hurt. All I wanted was a life that didn't feel like walking on broken glass. And now I was the villain in everyone's story. The next few days were a blur. I stayed inside. I didn't answer the door. I didn't answer the phone. I didn't even check my email. I just existed, waiting for the storm to pass. It didn't. Instead, it got worse. Someone, I'm guessing my mother, posted a long, teary post on Facebook, talking about the pain of being rejected by your own child, about how Christmas used to be her favorite time of year, but now it was forever ruined. Friends from my hometown started sharing it, commenting under it, saying things like, "You deserve better," and "No mother should go through this." They didn't mention me by name, but they didn't have to. Everyone knew who she was talking about. I became a ghost in my own community. Invitations stopped coming. Old friends stopped texting. Even people at the grocery store gave me strange looks. All because I said no. And through it all, my mother stayed silent toward me. No more calls. No more messages. Just quiet, smiling cruelty from a distance. I realized something then. She didn't want me back. She wanted control. And when she couldn't have that, she wanted to destroy me in the court of public opinion. It wasn't about love. It never was. It was about winning. But I wasn't the same person I was 2 years ago. I wasn't going to crumble. I wasn't going to run crying into her arms, begging for forgiveness for sins I never committed. I was going to fight back. Not by screaming. Not by posting long rants on Facebook. Not by dragging the family drama into public view. No. I would fight back by living well. By being happy. By building a life so full, so bright, so real, that her lies would rot in the shadows where they belonged. But first, I had to survive the wreckage she left behind. Weeks went by. Then months. Winter melted into a muddy, miserable spring. I focused on work. I focused on taking care of myself. I tried not to think about the mess my mother had left behind. Most of the family had gone quiet by then. Some out of loyalty to her. Some out of discomfort. Nobody wanted to take sides openly, but I knew what they were thinking. I could feel it in every awkward silence, every fake smile. I didn't care. Or at least, I told myself I didn't. One Sunday afternoon in May, I was pulling weeds in my front yard when a car pulled up to the curb. An old blue Buick. I wiped the sweat from my forehead, expecting it to be a neighbor. It wasn't. It was my cousin, Rachel. She got out slowly, holding a manila folder under one arm. She looked nervous, like she wasn't sure if I was going to slam the door in her face. I didn't say anything, just nodded once toward the porch. We sat on the steps. She didn't ask for coffee. Didn't waste time with small talk. Instead, she handed me the folder. "You need to see this," she said. Inside were copies of old documents, medical bills, letters, a few dusty legal papers. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. Then I saw it. A court order. Custody documents. From when I was 6 years old. My father hadn't abandoned me. He had fought for me. Hard. Page after page spelled it out. Petitions. Letters from his lawyer. Pleas for visitation rights. Proof that he had sent birthday presents, Christmas cards. That he had tried to call. All blocked. All returned. All ignored. By her. My mother had kept me from him. Lied to me my whole life. Rachel leaned forward, her voice low. Grandma told me before she died. I didn't believe it at first. But I guess I had to see it for myself too. I sat there, the papers trembling in my hands, feeling like the ground had shifted under me. Every memory I had of my father, every bitter word my mother had ever said about him, was a lie. She didn't just take Christmas away from me. She took my father away too. Rachel hesitated, then said, "There's more." I looked at her, numb. "She's sick." I blinked. "What?" "She has early-stage dementia. Diagnosed last fall. That's why she wanted you to host Christmas. She thought she could hide it from everyone a little longer if you did all the work." The words rolled around in my brain, not fitting anywhere. "And the Facebook posts?" I asked, voice like sandpaper. She wasn't confused then, Rachel said, grim. That part was all her. A fresh wave of anger rolled through me, hot and bitter. I didn't know what to feel. Pity? Rage? Sadness? Grief? Maybe all of it at once. Rachel stood up, brushing dirt off her jeans. I thought you deserved to know. You can do whatever you want with it. No one would blame you. I thanked her, watched her drive away, sat on the steps until the sun went down and the stars came out, cold and sharp above me. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw two versions of my mother. The fierce, controlling woman who had crushed me every chance she got, and the frail, frightened woman she might soon become. But then I thought about all the Christmas mornings I spent waiting for a father who was never allowed to reach me. I thought about the bathroom door locked tight while my family sang downstairs without me. I thought about the Facebook posts, the cold silences, the way she had painted me as a villain and smiled while she did it. And somewhere in that mess of memories and rage and hurt, a decision formed. I wasn't going back. Not to save her. Not to fix things. Not even for closure. She had made her choices. She had lived by them. And now she could live with them. I wasn't going to waste whatever time I had left trying to heal someone who had only ever handed me knives. Still, there was one thing I couldn't leave alone. The father I had been taught to hate. I tracked him down. It wasn't hard, once I had his full name and city from the papers. He lived in Michigan now. Retired. Ran a little bait and tackle shop near a lake. I wrote him a letter. Simple. Honest. I'm your daughter. I don't know if you want to hear from me, but I'd like to meet you if you're willing. I didn't expect an answer. But 2 weeks later, a card arrived. Inside was a short note, written in shaky but firm handwriting. I've been waiting for you my whole life. The day I met him was cold, gray, and windy. I drove up to Michigan, hands sweating on the steering wheel the whole way. I almost turned around twice, heart hammering against my ribs. But I didn't. I found his shop easily enough. A little wooden place by the lake, smelling of old bait and fresh air. The bell over the door jingled when I stepped inside. And there he was. He looked older than I expected, gray hair, sun-leathered skin, thick glasses perched on his nose. But his smile was immediate, like he'd been waiting by that door every day for 20 years. We sat on 2 rusty folding chairs in the back of the shop. No big emotional hugs. No dramatic music. Just 2 people trying to cross a canyon made of decades. He told me everything. How he had begged the courts to see me. How my mother had painted him as dangerous, unstable, unfit. How he had been warned that fighting harder could make things worse for me. How he had finally let go, thinking it would be better for me if he didn't tear me apart between 2 parents. He showed me a box. It was full of birthday cards he never sent. Little toys he bought and kept. Photos he took of me from a distance at school plays, soccer games. Moments he wasn't supposed to be at, but he couldn't stay away from. It broke me open. He cried. I cried. We both laughed a little through the tears, embarrassed, but grateful. It wasn't perfect. Too many years lost to ever really fix. But it was something real. Something true. And when I left that day, I promised myself I will not waste another second of my life chasing people who only love me when it's convenient. I didn't call my mother. I didn't answer when she called me, either. But she didn't give up. She showed up at my job one afternoon in July, screaming in the parking lot like a madwoman. Security had to ask her to leave. She sent letters after that, emails, voicemails. Begging, pleading, threatening. She said I was cruel. Said I was letting her die alone. Said she forgave me for turning on her. Forgave me? Like I was the one who locked a 6-year-old away from their own father. Like I was the one who lied and controlled and twisted love into a weapon. I didn't reply. But it wasn't over yet. The final blow came that Christmas. I hosted a small dinner at my house. Friends. Some cousins who believed my side of things. My father, sitting quietly at the end of the table, smiling at the mess and chaos like it was the best thing he'd ever seen. And then, the knock came. Everyone went silent. I knew who it was before I even opened the door. There she stood. Thinner. smaller, shivering in the snow without a coat. Eyes wild, hair messy, like she didn't know where she was anymore. She looked past me into the house, eyes filling with tears at the sight of the tree, the presents, the laughter. "You replaced me," she whispered. I didn't answer. She dropped to her knees right there on my porch. "Please," she cried. "Let me come in. Just for a minute." I stood there, heart thudding hard against my ribs. All the old instincts flared up: guilt, duty, pity. The parts of me she built. But over it all was a cold, hard truth. She chose this. She made her bed, brick by bitter brick. And now it was time to lie in it. I stepped outside, pulled the door closed behind me so the cold wouldn't seep into the house. "You're sick," I said. "You need help. Real help. Medical help." "I need you," she sobbed. "No," I said. "You need someone you didn't destroy." Her sobs turned ugly, then high, angry, desperate. "You think you're better than me? After everything? You're still the same selfish brat you always were." I smiled. For the first time in my life, I smiled right in her face. "No," I said, calm and steady. "I'm better because I finally learned who to stop loving." I turned and went inside, locked the door behind me. We sang Christmas carols that night. Loud, off-key, ridiculous songs, laughing until we cried. Outside, through the frosted window, I saw her sitting there in the snow, rocking back and forth like a child, alone in the dark. And I didn't feel sorry. Not anymore. Because forgiveness isn't something you owe to people who shatter you and then hand you the pieces, blaming you for breaking. Some mistakes cost too much to fix. Some bridges need to burn. And some people, no matter how much blood ties them to you, deserve to be left out in the cold. Forever.